Why didn't Brock fix it?
One of the first administrative position I had, I was an assistant principal down in Tucson. And I became an assistant principal at the school that I was a student at.
Maybe we shouldn't
So
leave
there
the
was a
lights on.
handful of teachers still there that were my teacher. And so, I was the assistant
He's an
principal
idiot.
and I
Did
was
you teach
charged
Bergen
with-
at least?
And I could never not call them
All right,
Mr. and
fine.
Mrs. I just couldn't. I go in the faculty lounge and I was like a little
I'm
boy.
ready.
Mr. and Mrs.
Testing. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get ready to call our meeting to order. But we are first going to do the public hearing on the proposed revised budget for 2020-2021. So I will turn that over to Ms. Perez.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Wilson. I know that you're not accustomed to seeing a budget revision during the month of December, and it's primarily, the reason why we're here to review this is the fact that one of our school districts had issues with the data reporting, and as a result, our full allocation as a CTED appears to be that we over budgeted. So by statute, we are required to submit a budget revision. Then in January, we'll come back and do another revision to reflect the actual correct ADM that has been updated by that sending school district. So just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. When you look at the revision that was submitted in comparison to the budget, sorry, this mask.
Take it off, sister.
When you review the differences, and it's primarily one in the M&O as a result of the lesser basic allocation due to the lower ADM. Two, is also an opportunity to include a 3.5 million allocation that the district as a CTED is receiving from the CARES Act. This is the governor's stability grant, and out of that 3.5 million, as a central campus will be able to keep 1.4. The rest will be passed through to the sending districts. Other than that, the adjustments were, as I mentioned, just a direct result of the lower ADM in comparison to what we budgeted. Any questions?
I don't, I'm pretty sure I know why the lower ADM, so I don't have any questions. Any other board members? No, we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes that portion of our business, and so we are going to go ahead and move into our regular board meeting.
Don't we have to adjourn it? I'll make a motion to adjourn the
Do we have to
meeting.
adjourn?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I move that we adjourn.
I have a motion, and I have a second by Mr. Lane. I will ask Ms. Boggs to call for the vote.
Burnham,
Aye.
Watkins,
Aye.
Lane, Johnson,
Aye.
Doolin,
Aye.
Boggs is an aye, Fleedham, Covington.
Aye.
Okay, now I'm going to call the EVIT board meeting to session at whatever time it is now, 6:03. Close enough. Okay, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I normally think ahead and have someone ready to lead us in this, but I did not, so I'm going to ask Kevin Kelbell to do that. Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, then we have some, moving forward, we're going to have some presentations and recognitions. And it's the Students of the Month, and I'm not sure, normally we start with main campus, but because I feel like we always start with main campus, I'm going to spice it up and ask that we start with the Power Campus first, to give them a chance to go first.
Madam President, Mr. Casaro is not here, so Mr. Fisher will be
So it really
standing.
didn't help
It didn't
anyone.
really matter.
I really tried.
I appreciate the effort, though, completely.
Tell Mr. Casaro I tried to get him out of here earlier.
Thank you. So do you want me to start with the Power Campus then?
doesn't matter.
Okay, making sure. It is my pledge that I will go ahead and start with the main campus group first. We have 2 students of the month, an AM and a PM for the main campus. However, our PM student of the month has chosen to remain anonymous. So we're going to respect those wishes and we'll let them remain anonymous and we'll celebrate the AM student. That AM student comes from Mr. Kalfas's culinary program, and what I'd like to do is introduce Mr. Kalfas to come up here and share his experience with a student.
Thank you to the board and Ms. President and Dr. Wilson. It's my honor today to introduce Declan Nichols, who's in my AM culinary class. And one of the things, you know, we always get asked to say, what are you going to say, and all these things. Well, Declan kind of speaks for himself. Since the first day of online class, if you remember, we started that first week virtually. He was always on camera, ready to go, always participated. Probably seemed a little bit more sure of the situation than I did doing the online for the first week. But from that moment up until him being live with us, he's always demonstrated such a great attitude. Pretty much from day one in the lab, it would be, what else can I do? What else can I learn? Who needs help? Anything of that nature. He was one of the first to begin volunteering at Bistro 13 to help out Chef Gaston over there. And that's my wife probably making sure I truly am at a board meeting and doing something else. At any rate, so Declan has always demonstrated such a great attitude in class. And the AM class is a little unique. We do have a few students that are special needs, 504 IEP, and Declan has always been one of those people that's been more than gracious and willing to help at any point through that. And we've really appreciated having him in class. I know I can't believe I'm going to say this because my mom was a teacher and I used to hear her say this, but if I had a whole class of Declans, it would be a really easy job. But with that being said, I've been doing this a lot of years and seen a lot of students, and he has by far got one of the best attitudes, and I really appreciate having him here. So, and even more so, I really appreciate him being able to share it with his family as well.
Bring him on up.
We want to hear from Declan.
Hello. What do I say?
What do you want to tell us?
Well, I'm glad I'm in his class. It's real fun because, you know, you get to meet, well, in the AM there's like, what, 20 students? Yeah, so. But I walked past, when we were doing the Thanksgiving thing, I walked past the PM class and I'm glad I'm not in that one. It's full. But yeah, I'm glad. He's a really good teacher. I'm glad I'm helping out. When somebody needs help, I'll help them out. When we're getting ready for like the next day, I'll cut stuff up, I'll get stuff ready for it. I'm glad we have the Bistro 13 too, because that's fun too. They give you experience, because I want to be a chef one day, own my own restaurant, and you know, this is a great experience for that, getting you started.
Excellent. So you want to be a chef?
Oh yeah.
So do you cook at home too?
Yeah, my mom makes me, you know,
Can I adopt him?
most of the cooking. Yeah, Dad does breakfast though, I'll leave that to him.
Oh, so you're not a breakfast person? Oh, okay. Excellent.
Do you
Any
have
other-
something specific you like to cook?
I like making pasta. Pasta's good. Popular. I actually got a pasta roller, last Christmas? Yeah, so I've used it a couple times. But, yeah, it's real fun. We made...
Okay, excellent. Any other questions from board members? Thank you, Declan. It was a
You're
pleasure
welcome.
meeting you.
from our Power Road campus, we have 2 students. I'd like to first introduce Sarah Lieu to come up and introduce the Student of the Month for Cosmo.
I like it. Christmas.
Yes, we're doing a little festive holiday wear this week at the Cosmos program. So I'm Sarah Lieu. Thank you guys for having us. It's fun to celebrate students always. My student, Ashley Wolf, is fantastic. Like he said, if I could have a whole classroom full of Ashleys, it'd make my job easy. But I chose Ashley because she is what a cosmetologist represents. She's kind, she's caring, she jumps in, she helps out whenever needed. But I also chose her because due to the circumstances of our world today, she had to stay home for a couple weeks. And as a teenager, they take full advantage of the time off. And we came up with a plan because Cosmo requires hours, and to lose 2 weeks of hours is a lot for the Cosmo program. So I asked her if she could log in through Google Meets every morning at 7 o'clock so she could do the bell work, she could get the demos, she had her supplies at home. And for 2 weeks, she was there at 7 a.m. She turned in all of her assignments, so she did not lose any hours the entire time that she was at home. So she's a fantastic student. So,
Excellent.
You didn't tell her she had to come up to the
I didn't
podium.
know. Sorry.
Hi, tell us your plans for the future and what you enjoy most about Cosmo.
Okay, so finish EVIT, and then they just released a program for EVIT students in cosmetology to finish their associate's degree through MCC, so I was gonna continue and do that, and then also go shadow for a friend at a salon who actually also had Miss Sarah as their teacher and loved her, and it's really just an attest to how amazing she is, and she produces such great students, and I'm so lucky to be a part of her class.
Excellent.
Thank you.
You're running, she's running away. You're not done. That was really good, though.
Everybody gets to ask a question now.
Do you like to do the microneedling thing? You know, where they spike everybody's face, that little thing that they roll all over?
I don't think we've done that.
No,
We don't do that.
they don't do
We
that.
don't teach that yet. Cosmo doesn't teach that.
Okay, Mr. Lane, you had a question?
Who's here with you tonight?
My mom and my dad.
Let's have them stand up, because they're a big part of this equation. Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Okay, we'll let you, I will let you escape now.
And then we have Mr. Klein from the aviation program. Thank you, Mr. Klein.
Yeah, for sure.
Good evening. My name is Chris Klein. I come from the aviation department out on the newly minted Power Road, or Power Campus. I have the pleasure of awarding Alyssa tonight. Before I worked here, I was an airline pilot until I was 2020'd, for lack of a better term. You've seen the news with the airlines. But before that, I worked for many years as a flight instructor. For the better part of this decade, I've taught people how to fly in some capacity or another. And I think about all the good pilots that I know, which is a good number, and they all share similar traits. When the task is presented to someone, they come up with a plan, then they execute the plan. When the plan is done, then they critique the plan. What went well, what didn't go well, what can be done better for next time. And while that can be taught to someone over the course of many, many years, believe me, I've tried, I find it rather remarkable that an 18-year-old high school student can already operate and think at that level. I can't speak for anyone else in this room, but I know I wasn't there at her age. Every single day she comes in early, prepared, and works diligently to put out the best work that she can. She outshines her peers every single day. It's not that she picks up the material right away, but it's the level of consistently demonstrated effort that sets her apart from her peers. Our program is heavily biased towards creating pilots, towards making professional pilots, although we do guide it towards other career fields. And I know Alyssa wants to become a pilot. It's a path that I've gone down, and I know I can only speak for myself, but I look forward to the day that I turn my head and I see her walk into my flight deck. And I know if you see her get on your aircraft, you're in good hands.
Oh, that's great.
Congratulations.
On up, Alyssa.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Bodwin.
Okay, tell us what your long-term goals are and why you chose EVIT.
Okay, so I chose EVIT because I wanted to be a pilot. I found that out when I was 14. Once I realized that I could be in the cockpit, I was like, my heart is set, I'm gonna do it. And my dad's actually a private pilot, so I've been around the airport since I was young. My mom's a flight attendant, and I was really interested in how it worked. And when I realized I could be there, I started working towards it, and I found the EVIT program, and it's helped me so much. It's really given me a jump start ahead of a lot of other people who have to wait longer, and it takes longer when they don't have the help, especially from the teachers that I have. As you can see, they're very dedicated to helping us, and I really appreciate everything each teacher has done for me at this school.
Excellent. Any questions from board members?
Yes, I have a question. I'm a private pilot, 28 years. What do you love most about being in the air?
Being in the air, so far I only have about 8 hours logged, so I'm just beginning, and next semester we get to do full flight training. We've been doing ground school this semester and last year, but next year I'm doing it through the Aviation Explorers at Falcon Field. So my favorite thing about that is just the view, the fact that like when you feel yourself bring the plane up, like you know that you're in control, you're doing this, you're getting somewhere, you're getting where you want to be, and working towards that is very important to me.
I'm excited for you. When I was 10 years old is when I wanted to get into the air. And even after 28 years, as I take off, I look down and I say, I am flying a plane. What a great feeling.
Yeah, that's exactly how I mean it. That feeling is just amazing.
It gets better when they pay you.
That's true.
Good, Dad.
Well, I have to tell you, I have the opposite feeling. When I realize I'm in a plane and that I'm off the ground, I think, oh, please, someone hand me the Xanax. I don't want to look out the window, and I don't want to know that I'm off the ground. I don't love it. I do it, but I don't love it.
My favorite part is the control fall, and it's good.
Right.
Okay, that's my favorite, because I know I'm alive still. and I didn't get there before all the paramedics and stuff, if they have crashed, but it's just my
Yeah, I don't like any of that.
That does not sound fun.
Well,
So-
technically flying is safer than driving, so.
It's a lot further to fall, though.
Yes, but the chances of accidents are a lot lower.
Okay, and so your plan is to be a private pilot or commercial?
I'm going to go commercial, but the first step is going to be private pilot, and that's what I'm working towards right now.
Excellent.
To be a fighter pilot, you said?
Private pilot.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Now we have her in the
You're
services.
right, Jeff.
You can fly the F-35.
Right, that would be amazing.
Excellent. Any other questions from board members? Go ahead, Mr. Lee.
Have you had your first solo yet?
No, not yet. I'm getting there. Slowly but surely.
Any day now.
Excellent. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you all.
Thank you. So before we let you all leave, because we will let you leave, we don't make you stay, which is customary here, I would love to just take a minute and thank you parents for letting us have your children, because that's the reality, is you have shared your children with us here at EVIT, and we're very thankful that you have. And I know that 2020 has not, when we talk about school and the challenges, it has not been ideal. And I am so privileged that we have been able to continue to go to school, continue to offer these opportunities, and to let your students be part of something, even during this difficult time. But really, thank you, because we couldn't do it without great parents like you that are raising these wonderful adults for the future. Thank you again. Okay, we will let you leave if you would like to leave. Or you can stay for the business of our meeting. It's super fun.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, you too.
She looked great.
You may put something in her brain, Jeff. Jeff, she's now going to become a fighter pilot.
She's not gonna become a what?
She is going to become a fighter pilot now.
I think so.
She might now.
It's a good way to get your hours.
Okay, so I am moving on to number 6, which is the regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the
I
minutes?
move for approval.
I have a motion from Mr. Burnham. Do I have a second?
I will second.
I have a second from Ms. Boggs. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask Ms. Boggs to call for the vote.
Burnham,
Aye.
Watkins,
Aye.
Lane,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Doolin,
Aye.
Boggs is an aye, Fleetum, and Covington.
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to move on to agenda item 7, but I do not have any slips from calls to the public, so we'll move right on past that, since I got the no that there isn't any, and move to the consent agenda items, and I will make a motion to approve consent agenda items A
H.
through H. Do I have a second? I have a second by Mr. Lane. Is there any discussion? Agenda items 8, A through H. They're awful quiet today. Hearing none, I will go ahead and call for the vote, Ms. Boggs.
Burnham,
Aye.
Watkins,
Aye.
Lane,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Doolin,
Aye.
Boggs is an aye, Fleetum,
Aye.
and Covington.
Aye, except for item H, I abstain.
Okay.
It's donations.
Well, that makes sense. Okay, agenda item 9. I'm looking to just make sure there's only one. Yep. Do I have a motion for agenda item 9A, personnel?
I'd like to make a motion to combine, is there A and B?
There
Just A?
isn't, that's what I checked.
Okay, just A.
Just A.
That's what I'm asking. A.
Okay, so I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second?
I have a second from Mr. Burnham, any discussion? So quiet, hearing none, I'll go ahead and have Ms. Boggs call for the vote.
Burnham,
Aye.
Watkins,
Aye.
Lane,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Doolin,
Aye.
Boggs is an aye, Fleetum,
Aye.
and Covington.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, agenda item 10A,
Also move.
do I have a second?
I will second.
A second from Ms. Boggs. Any discussion? This is a proposed revision budget. So basically what we were just presented.
Yes.
Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Boggs?
Burnham,
Aye.
Watkins,
Aye.
Lane,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Doolin,
Aye.
Boggs is an aye, Fleetum,
Aye.
and Covington.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay,
Next.
10B, Power Campus Expansion. I believe Dr. Wilson will lead us in this discussion item.
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, members of the governing board. We've come to you, I believe, on 2 of the last 3 governing board meetings talking about the Power Road campus expansion. And here tonight, we're coming requesting the approval of the GMP 2.2. With us tonight are representatives of both the architectural firms and McCarthy. Neil is from the architect, and then we have Tyler and Joe and Brent from McCarthy that are going to do a brief overview. Once again, just so everybody understands the scope of the work that's in 2.2 and answer any questions before the action item. So I'll turn it over. I don't know if Neil, if you want to start, or Joey, or whoever.
Good evening. Last time I failed to introduce myself when I got to the panel, if you could all remember that. My name is Tyler Shoup with McCarthy Building Companies. We got Brett and Joey here as well. Make sure I've got this correct. Neil, you want to go through all these here?
Good evening. Yeah, I'll just give you a brief overview of the site plan so you can understand what you're purchasing with this GMP 2.2. Some of you have seen this, some of you haven't, so I'll just give you a brief overview. What you're looking on the screen is the north portion of the existing campus. The aviation building, which is in the upper right there, is the new building that is going to be built with GMP 2.2. It's just over 43,000 square feet, 3-story building. It is the primary focus of the signature program, the aviation program out there. You can see the roundabout where it has the word entry and the red arrow. That roundabout exists along with building 200, and the central plant currently exists down there right now. We're adding the parking lot, there's where it says new parking, a yard to the central plant, and then also that aviation building. There's gonna be a yard on the east side of that aviation building. There'll be some minor internal road work associated with it to kind of get the movement of the visitors and the students around there. But that's really the major focus of 2.2. Also in 2.2, we are doing the underground retention of the new site. So this underground retention will actually take all the surface retention for the rest of your 7.2 acres plus the current site. So it's a good prep for the future. We did that in phase 1, and that's what allows us to build on this aviation building currently because of that prep. So all this underground is going to go into this first 2.2 phase. There's also some minor landscaping. Where it says the word Paseo Path, that actually is going to be held off till 2.3 because that's when that'll tie that whole path together when we do the vet assist building and the engineering building. But that's a general lay of the land. Let's see what's next. This kind of shows you a rendering from Verona Road, which is the major road that goes into the ASU Business Park. And so this is looking down the campus on the north side there.
I got a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Can a plane really fit through those fences? I mean, the gates?
So the idea is that the wings would fold up. Usually when they travel on a flatbed, the wings are actually fold up. So
Okay.
yes, the width of that is actually 26 feet wide. So a flatbed is normally 12 feet wide.
Okay.
So yes, it can actually fit in there. There's also a hangar door that's 40 feet wide. So technically that wings can be down and it still be driven into to the hangar bay. But a lot of times the fuselage comes independent than some of the other parts. So it's not that they're necessarily building full planes and then rolling them out to the tarmac or anything like that. It's more or less just a study of the planes themselves.
All right.
Okay?
I have a question.
Yes.
Are the planes towed up there, or do they go under their own power?
Good question. They are towed up there. This is a teaching facility. It's not a full operations facility. So because of some of the code restrictions, if you're full operations with storage of gas and fuel, it causes some other restrictions. So the idea is anytime they're moved in and out, it's under manpower or towing, and you're in minimal usage of any gas. It's not inside or outside the facility. Good question. Just a brief floor plan. Sorry, it's kind of skewed a little bit, but the yellow is your hangar. So that's where the planes can actually move in and move out. On the east side there is what we're calling the skybox, which is another kind of lab where you can do demonstrations on parts and wheel in the fuselage and talk about areas there with vendors. Then you have a welding of structures and of parts. The main lobby is on that lower left, which ties into that roundabout where that arrow is at. This also houses kind of the main copy center for the district as well there. There's restrooms on that lower level. So anything in gray is the circulation, so the ability to walk around and not have to necessarily interact with what's going on the floor of the hangar was a major push. And then the welding program on that north. As you move up vertically, all the classrooms, the hangar is a 2-story volume. So you can look into the hangar, but you're not actually part of the hangar. There is glass there, so it's more visual than sound. Then you have classrooms that kind of work around, plus a 2-story volume for the skybox, so you can see into that as well. Very similar to the auditorium space out there, if you've been in the auditorium space out there. And then the top space is for shell space for future program growth. If aviation grows vertically, it has the ability to absorb that. Also, if you have a complementary program that you want to put on the 3rd level, this will house easily your typical 2 classrooms in a lab kind of concept there that you've been pushing out there from the medical and other areas. So that gives you about 10,000, a little over 10,000 square feet of shell space that you can grow into. I think you were going to talk summary?
Good evening, Madam President, members of the Governing Board. As Dr. Wilson mentioned, we are excited to bring our GMP 2.2 for approval this evening. All of you should have received it in your packet. It looks like this. For those non-construction personnel, GMP is our guaranteed maximum price. As Neil just walked through, we are between 95 and 100% design on the aviation facility. And at this point, we're comfortable finalizing the contract total for this second phase. Just as a reminder, there's one more phase after this. We're tracking to the $38 million total construction budget. We approved roughly 9 in GMP 2.1. This total is just over 14.9 million, leaving 14.7 million left for that third and final phase we plan to bring to this group for approval in June of next year. So we'll touch on the GMP very high level. As I mentioned before, the value is just over $14.9 million. Last time we were here in November, we talked between 12 and 14. There was some shifting as far as which scope was in 2.2 versus 2.3, which is what led to that total value of just over $14.9 million. That being said, we still feel as a team we're in a very good spot overall. We're tracking, again, not just this value, but the remaining value for that third and final phase. We want to make sure that we can guarantee that full build out. If you look at the master budget summary in the GMP, we are showing a delta of about $300,000 right now as far as a budget delta in that third and final phase. That can be attributed to the archaeology and a few other things. But that being said, there's still a lot of chips on the board. There's still a lot of the game to be played. There's opportunities for cost savings remaining in construction during GMP 2.1. There's still opportunity in this phase, and then us as a team, Neil, Don, Tyler, myself, there's a lot of things we can do with design of GMP 2.3 to make sure that we can ultimately deliver the final GMP within that $38 million total construction budget. I know that was a lot. Any questions based off what you've seen in your packet to date?
Madam President, I have a question.
Go ahead.
I noticed that in phase 2.2 that there are some changes in what was originally specified. For example, going from some colored concrete to some gray concrete, going from stainless steel handrails and ladders to galvanized or painted steel, and maybe a change in the hangar door as well. The functionality doesn't change, but the appearance changes. In your discussion or talking about those changes, what discussion did you have with the architect and with the principal on campus and the district as you made those changes?
Yeah, so I can start off answering that, and then Neil, if he wants to jump in, we can talk through it. But nothing has been done in a vacuum. This team has met 2 to 3 times weekly over the past 6 months as design has progressed, evaluating a lot of these things. So for us, first and foremost, quality, aesthetics, the longevity of this campus has always been our priority. So anytime we've proposed something as far as a material or a finish revision, we have the buy-in of the design team to make sure that we're all in agreement. So at this point, you're right. I mean, it doesn't change the aesthetics of the campus. At this point, we're really analyzing means and methods. And kind of one of the big focuses is just setting that campus standard moving forward. We have the 2 existing buildings on the campus that we're trying to match, but also as we move forward for the 2 new buildings and then maybe future phases, we want to make sure we're as efficient as possible moving forward so that we ultimately are building efficient buildings. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm grateful that you have the conversations. That's really what I was trying to get at. I just want to make sure that we had good conversation between everyone.
Yep. Yeah, and this packet was provided to Neil and his team well before it was presented to you to make sure that our entire team is in agreement before obviously presenting to this larger audience.
Madam President, I have a question. Thank you guys for the presentation. It looks pretty cool, so looking forward to getting out there. And I think it's probably the same question, though I didn't hear exactly. So you're evaluating whether, and I'm just going to use this as an example. It might be a simple example. So you have stainless steel railings that you opt to move to painted railings because it's a cost savings. Now that's an immediate cost savings. Do you carry that out to long-term cost savings? In other words, is that part of the discussion? So stainless steel, say, is 1.3 times painted, but then you got to paint every 6 months.
Correct. So most of these decisions, if not all of them, do have a life cycle cost component to them. Stainless steel handrail is one we talk about all the time, especially with CTE programs, because you're right, stainless steel is more expensive up front, but if you do the analysis and you even look at a paint of, I have to paint it once every 6 months, once every year, I mean, stainless steel is well over 5x the premium to traditional steel. So even in that analysis, I mean, that's an easy one to say, hey, labor to paint still does not offset the savings to go to.
And I
stainless
probably
steel.
should have used another example than that.
Yeah,
But those kind of questions are being, that's in the discussion every time you're changing
Exactly, I
material.
mean,
Does it really make sense to do this at the cost saving today, and then 5 years down the road, it ultimately costs us more?
They are. Yeah, I mean, another good example of that is roofing. You know, we get, opportunities where, hey, we want to do a single ply roof for all sorts of revisions, and there's some big cost saving opportunities there, but again, over the life of, the next 30 years in your maintenance program, we said no way, the roof needs to stay, and
Gotcha.
it's a give and take, but yes, those conversations.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I was just gonna support that. Yeah, we've looked at that in block out there because we know we have some polished block out there, but we want to stay integral colored, so we don't have a life cycle cost of repainting every 5 years that the district has to incur. So we're working within those standards. We understand that this is a high school, but yes, a community college level quality. We also know that the wear and tear is not as high as a typical high school because the amount of students coming through here are not using it on an everyday constant basis. So we're taking all that into account when we make these final decisions. I know that you mentioned the hangar door. One thing we're looking at the hangar door is we're actually getting the vendor to go walk the site. They have this exact door already at the Mesa Gateway campus hangars. So we're gonna go watch that, put our hands on that, touch that, and make sure that meets the quality that we're looking for, and we're not going too low. So we are having all those conversations as we move forward. So.
Thank you. I assumed that. I just wanted to make sure.
Other questions?
I just have one more of a statement. I guess I'm curious, why would you initially bid something that wasn't necessary? In your initial proposal, why would you propose, for instance, stainless versus painted steel?
We go back and forth. A lot of times it's a conversation with Neil and the entire team to say, hey, let's put it all in, see where the pulse on the market is, and then we can make the revision as needed. I mean, a lot of our process is, it's like a menu at the end where, we can take numbers, we get alternates, we have all the data, and then we collectively sit down as a team and say, what's in, what's out.
I understand. I guess my concern obviously is, if we were proposed that we're going to buy diamonds and then all of a sudden we come up with cubic zirconia, while it looks beautiful and it might be equally as efficient, it's just a little misleading, and we're representing taxpayers and tax dollars, so that's my concern. And moving forward, I'd like to see a lot less of that and a lot more just forward thinking and projections on moving on down the line, because I don't want these perpetual revisions. It just makes us feel like we're getting strung along a bit, so.
Yeah, and I think to that point, a big thing is now we kind of have set the revised campus standards, so this is really the benchmark moving forward, and you'll see a lot of this mirrored in the third and final phase.
Thank you.
Just a comment, I don't have too much of a problem of having alternatives or options. And depending on what the market is, if you can get a higher quality and the market, still comes within price and we can get it, that's great. But if not, then we get something that still is functional and works, that's not a problem for me to see options or alternates.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing I'd add to that is, this is an open book process. We're never done, so we're going to continue to track our contingencies throughout construction. And there could be a conversation down the road where, we've eaten away some of that risk. We feel comfortable releasing contingency dollars, and maybe those are dollars you want to put back in the project for something else or return and bank them as savings. I mean, this, design is never done. The dollar's never set. This is a continuous process until, construction is complete. And that's what we're committed to, communicating that information to help make the best decision.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you ready for me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve GMP 2.2?
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Lane. Do I have a second?
Second.
I heard Burnham, so I'm going with Burnham.
Jeffrey, you gotta be faster.
Got to be faster, Mr. Fleetham.
Second.
Any discussion from the board members? Hearing none, I'll ask Ms. Boggs to call for the vote.
Burnham.
Aye.
Watkins.
Aye.
Lane.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Doolin.
No.
Boggs is an aye. Fleedum.
Aye.
Covington.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 10C. Portfolio in lieu of certification for certain programs, and I believe Ms. Kuhn is presenting for this.
I am, Madam President, distinguished board members, Dr. Wilson. Tonight I'm here to talk to you about something that's been in at least the minds, if not the works, for a couple years. We've been looking at creating robust rubrics to have portfolios for, I believe they're listed in your packet, for animation, PMT, graphic design, fashion, interior, and video. These portfolios are worth a lot more to our students when they're applying at colleges or applying for jobs. They need to put these together to get into places like FITM, and we want to make their experience here at EVIT one that's extremely worthy of their time and all their efforts that they're putting into their projects. So we ask that you would approve portfolios in lieu of the certificates for those programs.
I have a question.
Yes.
The substituting the portfolio for the certificate, correct?
Yes.
Is the state, Arizona State, going to, the department and everything, going to accept this for CTE funding?
We don't know that yet.
Madam President, members of the governing board, our programs will still lead to certifications because part of the content that we're teaching is still leading to the certifications. The challenge with it becomes when we focus only on the certification for certain programs, we're finding industries telling us that the students are leaving ill-prepared because the certification earned isn't robust enough. So I suspect ADE will, because we're not changing the scope of the program. It still leads to, which is in the statute, but this is a component to it that we believe is going to give our students a much better opportunity to have success post-high school.
So they're going to get both?
They'll get the certification, I'm sorry, they'll get the portfolio, but one of the things our partners are telling us is that so much time is spent on teaching to a certification that doesn't necessarily translate to marketable skills, that it's a disservice to the students. So they may get both. Most likely they'll get the portfolio, but there will still be content within the program that leads to the certification. Whether they actually take the certification or not isn't the requirement. We as an organization have always said our programs provide industry certifications, which I think for 90% of our programs is absolutely spot on. But for the 10%, what we've actually done, in my opinion, is we've devalued the work that can be done in the classroom through portfolio by solely focusing on certification that really doesn't have a currency post-high school.
Okay, so we're going to allow this for descending schools too?
Okay, so just before we continue with discussion, can we get a motion on the board? We're going down a rabbit trail, and I want to make sure we have a motion. Do I have a motion? So I have a motion by Mr. Lane to approve. Do I have a second?
I will second.
I have a second by Ms. Boggs. Discussion continue.
Madam Chair, I have a question. So so we have the state is requiring a certification, right? A certification. That's what it's called, right? The industry wants a portfolio, right?
Yes.
So the state's not aligned with industry. So that's been a big issue with some of the governor's initiatives, is to align with industry. So in other words, we're going to give you a certificate because that's just what we do, whether you need it or not. So is there a way to call it? Is this just a word that we're debating here?
A word?
Certificate, called a portfolio
certificate
dash certificate? I mean, seriously, could it be possibly that simple?
So Ms. Kuhn can correct me because she's.
Trust me, I've been working with on the governor's Workforce Arizona Council on a lot of these things, and oftentimes it can be as simple as just the words. So I've been wrong before too. So.
No, it very well may be. I guess part of the challenge is organization. What we've done is we've said we look at the state list for approved certifications in different industries that we provide programming in. And like I said, cosmetology is a great example. Great match, not a problem there. But when you look at 2D, 3D design, the certification is, I think, Adobe something.
Maya or Adobe Photoshop.
You go talk to the industry and they'll tell you, that certification I don't care about. What I care about is what can the student do? Show me what the student can do. Well, in talking to our instructors, what they've told us is in order to teach to the taking of the certification exam that's approved by the state of Arizona, they're consuming an enormous amount of time that is preventing them from actually giving students the opportunity to learn and produce what ultimately is going to get them that portfolio that gets them a step in the door in a way that the certification won't. So to answer your question, we can call it whatever we want it, but the state of Arizona doesn't have on its approved list of certifications or portfolio. And so there is a bit of a disconnect that's there. To Mr. Covington's question, you know, some of the standards that are inherent in the program are standards that would lead to an industry certification if there was a continuation of the teaching of additional standards. What we're saying is that in lieu of doing that, we want to go to this direction and have the portfolio. What that will allow then is a student, for us to say in good conscience, this program could lead to an industry certification. But as we know that whether it's our organization or ascending districts, a lot of our programs lead to certifications and students don't actually get certifications. And so in some ways, this isn't any different than that, other than we're making a decision that's actually in the better interest of a student.
I can understand the justification of doing it. I just want to make sure that we're not going against what the state of Arizona expects us to do.
And I don't either, truthfully. I mean, I don't, believe me, I don't want to go against the state of Arizona.
Governor Ducey,
Are you sure?
Yes, yes. I don't go against the state of Arizona. And like I said, I don't believe we're not doing what is expected within the scope of the state of Arizona expectations, because this is a program that still carries with the standards that would lead to a certification. What I do believe though is that I would have a much better time I would have a much better time sleeping at night if I was at odds with the state of Arizona, but doing what was in the best interest of our students. Because ultimately, industry is telling us what we're providing students is great, but not good, is good, but not great. And I expect us to deliver great. I'm not going to come to you in cosmetology or welding or auto or construction or programs that have certain industry certifications that carry currency. I mean, that's what I want our kids to do. They leave here after 2 years. They should have something with them that they can take and do better than what they would have been able to do had they not come here. And right now in some of our programs, truthfully, because of the parameters of the certification, we're not doing that. And this is a step towards that, in my opinion.
In my opinion, a certification that's not wanted by the industry is not worth the paper it's written on. Okay, so I have a motion for approval on the table. Ms. Boggs, do you want to call for the vote?
Sure. Burnham?
Aye.
Watkins?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Doolin?
Aye.
Boggs is an aye. Fleedham?
Aye.
Covington?
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
Okay, moving on. I have the FY 2021 301 plan. We've been so looking forward to hearing about this. You have no idea. With bated breath, we've been waiting on this. We'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Mr. Lisenby.
Thank you.
We have to have a motion.
Madam President, members
Well,
of
I'm
the
gonna have
governing
him do his
board, Dr. Wilson,
presentation.
thank you for the opportunity tonight to present the 301 plan for the school year 2020-2021. Just a little overview. As a committee, we review our mission of being teachers here at EVIT, and we start with our why. And why is remembering why we're here to change lives. Our how is how we do by loving our students and serving our community. And the what is putting the why and how together. This year, we worked hard as a committee to develop a plan that lines up closer with the district's goals and our mission. Also, we went to a brand new evaluation tool this year, and we worked hard to make the 301 plan and the evaluation work together so teachers can see the benefit of going above and beyond. The plan does have 3 buckets to come up with out of there. So the first, the 20%, the teacher-based pay has not changed. For that does cover 10% of the teacher's base salary. The 40% performance-based, which is for our certified staff based on specific measures, has been updated significantly with the new performance pay compensation rubric. And then the 40% menu of services includes attendance, student placement as the items. This year we included our success markers that were presented to the governing board to line up with Dr. Wilson's goals here for us at EVIT. So you'll see in the plan this year that we are including things such as the technical skills assessment, industry certifications and portfolios, placement, and program improvement. And the goal you'll see as we go into the performance-based how all these line up. So in the plan, on page 4 of the plan is the 40% pay compensation rubric. This rubric outlines how teachers can receive funding allocation. Some highlights, just knowing that teachers, there's a percentage of the bucket or pot of money that's available, and there's point values assigned for each of them. We lowered the evaluation tool to 35% from 50%, but we included student surveys, parent surveys, and industry surveys. Previously, these were in our evaluation tool, and that's how teachers' evaluation scores were determined. It was important that we pull that out of the evaluation to really rate the teachers on how their performance is, and we put the surveys into the performance pay. Also, we incorporated industry certifications in the TSA, and I'm going to go into those now. So performance pay, one thing that was removed from there is the responsibility of enrollment for teachers. Previously, teachers were looked at how they enrolled their classes. Here at EVIT, we've hired recruiters to help out and go recruit for students for our class, and we feel the teachers need to be focused on the performance in the classroom and keeping the students they have there and to get certification. When they're focusing on trying to get more students while they're balancing the students they have, there's some disconnect, and especially when it looks at some of the class sizes, it's hard for the teachers previously to be paid out of the funds because they weren't able to achieve those sizes because the program was taking time to grow. We added outcome measures and we revised the stretch goals. So talking first about the technical skills assessment, there are 2 line items that got added for the performance pay rubric. The first is for the percentage of students that pass, and the next is for average scores on the exam. So the expected outcome is that at least 80% or higher pass the TSA exam. With the minimum score that the state requires of 60% to pass the test, this should be easily achievable for most teachers to be able to achieve, and that should be our goal as a district. Since our students are here for 2.5 hours every day, we should be able to excel on our TSA exams. The next is the outcome that we achieve at least a 70% or higher. So this is 10% higher than the minimum scores for most of the TSA, but it's again encouraging teachers to teach to the standards. We're here for 2.5 hours. We have more opportunity to enhance what our students are doing. Next, added into the performance pay was the industry certifications and portfolios. This was previously paid out of an additional stipend. We added it into the performance pay to help ease some of the burden with that, and also to help teachers focus on getting their students certified. So the goal is that the percentage of students, teachers could be paid out for the number of licensed or certified, when we expect the teachers achieve at least a 50% or higher in their programs. And if you look at the compensation rubric, you'll see how they go up in increments. So the goal is really that to receive the most money, that you need to almost get 90% of your students certified. We also updated and specified which program certifications or portfolios would be accepted for a teacher to receive payout for. This is to ensure that we are using a more rigorous standard compared to some of the certifications that are easier for payout. Because that's what, again, our goal is to have students leave with the industry certification that's going to get them hired at a job in their industry. Job-related placement. So again, this is similar. Again, we look at the percentage of students placed in their program. This is expected outcome of at least 76%. A first-year teacher would not be eligible for the job-related placement because they didn't impact students from the previous year. And then surveys, again, percentage of the students from student, parent, and industry survey with expected outcome of 76% or higher. Majority or not all of our teachers are able to achieve the minimum 76%. This committee did look at the surveys that were being used for both for student, parent, and industry to ensure that the language made sense. The other thing we're going to work through this year is ensuring that teachers or students that have multiple teachers, may have the teacher program, can accurately rate and evaluate each teacher. The next is the relates in the performance pay to stretch goals. We removed recruitment activities and parades from an activity. We reduced the number of points required for maximum compensation. Due to COVID, we don't have the opportunity to achieve as many goals outside, going out into the community or doing different things. Last year was the first year we had professional development back in the plan, and we learned needed to streamline a little bit to better align with the program content, meaning the program content of what me as an instructor, if I teach, it needs to relate to my program. And it's something that's going to help me in the classroom with my curriculum, or in some type of instructional theory that relates to your time in the classroom. We added events for Saturday clinic, makeup days, skill preps. We had multiple teachers submit through the program-specific forms last year that activity. This is to help students achieve extra hours needed for certain programs, maybe extra prep time needed for a certification, or to be prepared to get the industry testing.
Can I ask on that? The added Saturdays, is this part of their pay they're getting for a 5-day week, they're putting in a 6-day sometimes? Or is it extra compensation?
It's extra compensation out, because this is outside their normal contract hours.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we were asked to look at an item in there, and we added in overnight field trips. Those are approved by the governing board. So this allows teachers, the activity is written similar to the CTSO activities for field trips. So those are the specific requirements for there. The certified staff, we met last week to review the plan, and we had to have a vote. 98 of the 115 teachers voted with a 96% approval rating. Our next step is the approval tonight by the governing board, so we can submit the plan by the end of December to the state of Arizona. And that is all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'm going to ask for a motion before we get into discussion and questions. Do I have a motion to approve?
I approve
I have
the
a
motion.
Motion by Mr. Covington. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Burnham. Okay, now we'll open it up to board discussion. I have a question, if that's okay. I actually have two. The first is I would like to know attendance. I noticed in there that it said COVID would not play into the attendance, and I would like to know how you are deeming what is COVID attendance and what is non-COVID. Are you, because that is you're in a very sticky situation there, so I wanted to understand that better. That's my first question. And then my second question is, job-related placement, there's a piece of that job-related placement that first-year teachers can't get. This caused a huge debacle, if you all remember. We were sitting here last year, and we had problem after problem, and it was brought to us to give people money because they couldn't get certain pieces of the pie, and that wasn't fair, and I'm not sure why we're going back down that road again. Those are my two.
If you go back to the attendance, I'm not sure where it is in that.
I know for attendance, how students with COVID are being marked with a specific attendance code, so they can pull that data and the attendance code.
Right, but for teachers, are you requiring proof of a positive COVID? Because if you're not, then why are they out for COVID? COVID is if you're gonna say, I'm missing attendance because I'm sick, then you need to go get a test. And if your test is positive, great. If it's not positive, you have to I find it scary that you're going down this road because somebody has to be keeping track of, are you calling they get to decide if they're asymptomatic COVID? Or do they get to decide if they're a flu? I don't know.
Are we talking about students or teachers?
Teachers, because this is 301, right?
This doesn't affect teachers, it's students' attendance in the class. In the performance pay rubric is the percentage of students that are in their class every day.
I appreciate that. I would waive the whole attendance thing during COVID. I just don't know how you're going to track that. That's just my 2 cents. That's a lot of moving pieces, but that's just me. Are you guys comfortable with tracking it?
96% of them. money?
Yeah, Madam President, members of the
Okay.
governing board, I mean, truthfully, I'll be completely honest in this. From my perspective, and folks may disagree with it, from my perspective, we laid out to the faculty, the committee's the group that worked through this. It wasn't me, it wasn't, so you're asking, I appreciate the questions you're asking, but the answers to those are really would be more at the feet of the committee and then at the feet of the teachers, because I didn't create the plan. I know I have a responsibility of orchestrating it, administrating it, but if the teachers, if that's what they felt was a direction they wanted to go, I didn't preload it for them to do that.
Okay. What about the second piece? Because that's where I have huge concerns, because I don't want to be sitting here in 6 months being asked to give out money because certain people couldn't reach certain parts of the 301 plan.
Previously with placement, new teachers were expected to do the research on the students, but they weren't paid out for students for placement because they did not actually teach those students. So the goal is that the teachers who are teaching the students are eligible for the funding. So if I'm a first-year teacher, then in my first year teaching here at EVIT altogether, we use that term, it gets confusing between first-year and second-year programs, but if I'm a brand-new teacher, those are the ones who are not eligible because they would not have had any placement data for that specific program that they related to those changes.
But you understand my concern.
Yeah.
We sat here last
I
year
do.
and we got asked to give out more money because they couldn't get that piece of the pie. And now we're asking to approve the exact same thing.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, if I say this, I think the difference is that the plan before didn't differentiate between a place for first-year teachers that teach first-year students and first-year teachers. It said first-year teachers generally. So if I'm a first-year teacher, what we try to do is to find, and if I'm saying this correctly, what we try to do is to figure out how to compensate you, even though you really didn't have a role in the placement of the students. What we're saying now is that if you are in your first year at EVIT teaching, you will not have access to the placement dollars because you didn't have an impact on those students because you weren't here. If you only teach first-year students, though, you will have an opportunity because those students matriculated to the second year and then they got placed. And so you played a role, a 50% role, in getting those students placed.
But not till year 3.
They what?
Not till year 3. So if I'm a first-year teacher and I'm teaching in a first-year program, right? I'm not eligible that first year because I didn't teach anybody the year before. The next year, those students I'm teaching are only in a second-year program. They still don't have job placement. So technically, I'm not eligible till my 3rd year. Think about that. I mean, I still have no impact until they're actually placed in the job. And if it's a 2-year program and I'm teaching in a first-year program, I should not be eligible until those students are actually placed in job placement, which is not going to happen till their 3rd year of teaching.
Yeah, and from what happened, my understanding from last year a lot was those were data factors that were part of our old evaluation tool, and that was caused some of the scores to be lower. And then when it was looked at, when the scores became higher, that's when more 301.
But are the teachers going to be okay with not being eligible for job placement until their 3rd year if they teach in a first-year program? They're not. We're going to be right back here.
It's Madam President, what is this on? It is spelled out in the plan that who gets it and who doesn't. It's in there. They know. If they voted on it, if they read it before they voted on it, they know the answer to that already.
So they realize they're not going to get it till the 3rd year when they have job placement, if they're teaching in a first-year program.
It's pretty clear that it differentiates. It says what first-year teachers are not eligible for and what they are eligible for.
Right, but they're still not eligible their 2nd year if we're looking at job placement.
They'll get the placement for the second-year students when they get placed.
They won't get placed till after the 2nd year. If I teach first-year program, my students I'm teaching, you understand what I'm saying? My students that I'm teaching aren't going to be placed till I'm in my 3rd year of teaching.
When does the placement open up? I thought it was at the end of the 2nd year.
If it's a 2-year program,
It's at the end of the second year, but you
it
look at the
doesn't do
data
it till
for
the next year.
following, right?
Yeah, so oh, go ahead, Mr. Lane. Sorry, that's my concern.
Yeah, well, I hope I don't offend anyone, but I'm pretty frustrated. We've had this conversation last year. this thing is like I'm sorry, I'll turn on my microphone. This is just over the top with details, gotchas, and all that. And that's not the legislative intent of 301. You know, a person shouldn't have to hire an attorney to understand how they're going to get paid on this thing. This is 20 plus pages of stuff, and it's ridiculous. You know, to add this much on to a teacher to get this, this plan should be way simpler, and I think that's the direction we gave last year. And if anything, this is more complicated than I've seen to date. And going the wrong way, in my opinion. That's not the legislative intent of 301. The legislative intent is they do their job and they do it well, and not have to, you know, the fact that you're putting all this, you got to do Saturdays and this and that, and you don't get the money this year for those kids for 3 years. That's the whole reason we had all these people coming in last year. They went in good faith and did things, and they got stuck in a gotcha in this complex 301 plan. Have we looked at 301 plans from any other CTEDs or, because I just can't imagine, you know, this is all well and good, but it's over the top. This thing is way too complicated. You know, you set some goals, clear cut, easy to measure, easy to see. And this whole thing about having to keep, I don't know how you even fairly administer this to the faculty and have equity among all the groups. And bearing in mind, you're asking them to go spend substantial time over and above their contracted time. Every 100% of this should be able to be accomplished within their contract hours. 100%.
So, Madam President, members of the governing board, I understand what you're saying. I don't completely agree with it, and that's okay. I guess part of what we have worked to do, I think, organizationally, is to say that we're going to look at a compensation plan through the salary and benefits that is more equitable than it's ever been before. And I think it is that way. Then the 301 plan is a goal that gives individuals opportunities to get additional revenue that is above and beyond what their normal workday should have been. And if that's the case, then there needs to be real dollars attached to it. So what I believe the committee looked at is said, okay, organizationally, what is it that we're going to place our stake in, right? And organizationally, we said that we're going to place our stake in the TSA, we're going to place our stake in the industry certifications and portfolios, we're going to place our stake in placement. And so what are some things then that would lean into that, right? Now, in an ideal situation, we would say, well, quality instruction 24/7, 365 improves the TSA. That's a true statement. But we know the reality of it is because of the nature of the organization in terms of sending districts and the commitment students have, we have a number of students that they would benefit from having an opportunity to have a Saturday school tutorial study session with their instructor to help them have a better opportunity on the TSA. So either we say to that instructor, well, that's part of your normal job description because we got to get the TSA up and go get them. Or we say to it, if you're willing to do that, we're going to count that towards a 301 plan that incentivizes your behavior that's above and beyond what the contract hours should allow, that's aligned with our goals as an organization. And so I hear what you're saying. I don't believe, and again, you know, I'm trying to defend, I didn't create it. I really didn't create it.
Well, I get that.
But at the end of the day, I think the components that are in it are far more simplistic and are far more aligned to organizationally what we say that we're about. Where in years past, you had to do parades, you had to do floats, you had to do stuff, and that's gone. And what we're saying is that, you know, increase the TSA, right? So if I'm an individual that I'm just going to teach lights out in my classroom, and my students improve their understanding of the content, and I improve my TSA, then I went above and beyond within the contract hours, right? But if I want to say some of my students aren't showing up, So what am I gonna do? Well, there's an opportunity for us to incentivize you to do something above and beyond that allows you to add value back into your 301 opportunity. So our goal was to make it less cumbersome, but far more targeted and expected outcomes that we as an organization have said have value to us.
And I do disagree with Mr. Lane. I don't have a problem so much with the areas we've chosen, like that, like I do think 301 is above and beyond the contract because we're paying you to do your contract, 301's additional funds. There is a little bit of additional incentive there, a little extra work. Do I think it should be exhaustive? No. But I also don't think it should be punitive to teachers who teach in the first year programs. And that is where I'm struggling immensely. We now have another plan that is punitive to teachers who are teaching in a 2-year program and they teach the first year.
Rhonda, excuse me, and Lane, you're really upset, or
Not upset.
not upset, but concerned about the placement for the first year teacher. Is there a way that we could maybe make a motion to say the first 2 years we approve this plan, but first 2 years that new teachers are exempt from that they get it automatically? Then we won't have that thing.
And it's not our plan. I don't think we can do that. I mean, we can give, we could give direction back.
Can we make a motion to do that?
I think it needs to go back to them.
Yeah, they would have to.
Well, they have to have
Hold on.
turned in by
Ms.
December is
Boggs
the problem.
has a,
You can reject this plan.
right.
To give them direction to amend it, bring it back, but you're gonna have to have another board meeting before the end of the month, because it's gotta be submitted to the state before the end of December.
Can they amend it, and then we go back to the teachers to have the
Right,
teachers
we'll have
approve
to
it?
get the teachers out to vote on it again before.
Yeah,
the-
so if they amend it here, I'm using Mr. Covenant's
Well, we can
suggestion,
make
he says A,
suggestions.
and
We
then we
can't
send that back to the
stipulate
teachers.
that.
We will
We
approve
can
it
make
if they make that
suggestions.
improvement.
That-
I mean, I'm trying to get this through because I know you have to get it in December. So would that work? That would work? If we approve it, if they take that placement out for first
I don't
2-year
know that you
teachers.
can take it
Why
out.
are we so
I'm
far
not-
down the
just-
road
just
in the
exempt them from it.
timeframe?
I'm not saying exempt them, just exempt them from that because they can't do it.
But that's.
They should get credit for it.
What you're proposing
Now I'm paying them to do not
is
something
what
that
you
I do.
did, what you ended up doing last year.
Yeah.
Because there's no data for the first year students.
Yeah.
And so what some of the evaluators did was they just plugged in alternative
Or-
data.
or is there
which boosted
something-
their scores. So and the unfairness of that was those first year teachers had not contributed to the accomplishments that was justifying the money. And what you're saying is we're just gonna automatically give it to them. That's not the purpose of 301.
I
Then
agree.
can we say that they can go above a board in some other area, such
How
as a
about we
Saturday?
send it back to them to tell us what they want to put there instead?
I had a question.
Go ahead,
That's
Ms. Boggs.
But, you know, I was a former teacher here for 10 years, and the 301 plan was horrible, and we didn't have a say, the teachers. If we spoke up, we were in trouble, just so you know. So my question for you, I think this is fantastic as a teacher, former teacher here, because the hoops we jumped through before was ridiculous and it was embarrassing, and it did not help kids. Do you get any feedback from teachers?
I've had a few of the teachers who've been here for a long period of time tell me this is the best 301 plan they've ever written, and it's the easiest plan. Because for the performance pay compensation that's on the screen, there's only one thing the teachers have to do for that plan is if to get money is to work on stretch goals if they want to work on stretch goals. Everything else is data driven for the performance. Nothing the teachers have to do. There may be 11 lines, but only one of the 11 lines is something the teacher actually has to do.
And they know exactly what they have to do, there's no,
No,
yeah,
no,
that's,
no, gosh.
I am just saying, as a former teacher here, it was a hot mess. This is very clear, and I think it's easy to follow. I'm glad that teachers are open to talk to you about their thoughts and
And I
feelings
think
about it.
having a committee that's made up of members throughout the school and all campuses has helped as well. So all industry, all parts of the campus are represented.
That was my question.
Madam Chair, I just have a question pointed, because I'm the new guy, one of the new guys on the block. So there's, at first, I think I've got this right. So we have teachers who are here for the first year. Okay, and then we have teachers that teach first-year
Programs.
classes.
Mhm.
And then we have teachers that teach second-year classes, right? So the idea is that a teacher that is a first-year teacher here for during their first year, whether they teach a first-year class or a second-year class, wouldn't qualify?
Correct.
Right.
However,
Okay,
Keep
I
going,
just
yeah.
wanted, that's kind of,
I
okay,
don't
so
think that's
I'm kind of wrapping
entirely
my head around it.
accurate.
I'm not saying yay or nay, I'm just saying
Right.
that's, okay, so that's the,
If they're first year teaching, second year, they still get these.
no,
Contribute to the place.
no, you don't, they don't contribute to placement till you get, the job placement doesn't occur till after the school year for the following year.
Correct, but if they're if they're a new teacher.
Yeah,
and they're
Let's
teaching-
call them a new
And they're
teacher.
teaching the second year of the program, they
Right.
will get it when those kids place. The only one, it's the new teachers teaching first year who have not contributed to the placement that don't get part of that placement money for those students. The money follows the student, so if
So
they've contributed
when's
to the
the
student's
due date?
success, they get the money.
When's the due date for job placement? Anyone?
Mr. Fisher?
how do you get chosen for a first or a second-year class?
So they graduate in April
May.
or May,
May.
and we expect that they're placed by June?
So, no, I'm sorry, so the placement that this plan will be for students that graduated.
The year before.
One whole year.
That's
before.
what, like I said, it's a year before.
So if you're teaching second year class, it's 2 years. You won't
It's
get
2
paid.
years. That's the
years.
problem.
In 3 years.
Yeah.
Because they're not placed within a month.
But this summer, they'll be looking at people that graduated in the 1920 school year.
My question is, who does the placement? Does the teacher go out and call all the students and do whatever else, or the students, how's the feedback come back about students getting placement, whether in the service, going to college, or a job that relates to it? Who does that?
So, Madam President, members of the governing board, currently who does that are our teachers. And then what doesn't get captured, then the building 3 over here begins unpacking, or Lacey in building 1 at the main campus begins trying to track down even more. Part of what I believe you all read in the Auditor General's report is that there needs to be a better system for tracking placement data. And so as we look at the spring, one of the pieces that we're thinking our way through is there a better way so that A, we're not burdening the teacher, and B, we actually have somebody whose sole responsibility, or some process that their sole responsibility is tracking down placement, because not only is it significant in the context of this, but it's also significant in the context of how the state defines the effectiveness of our organization. So currently, right now, it's the teacher followed by support staff to fill in the blanks, but truthfully, that system needs to change before we get into this next data collection, because it's not sufficient enough.
Okay, so that responsibility could be taken over by a person that's not a teacher, so it wouldn't be part of this.
No, they're still
No,
eligible
no, there's
for
still
placement.
placement stuff in there, but they're not actually doing the work, so it's not extra work. Which is part of the 301 plan, is that
No,
correct?
I mean, part of it is that, do we have individuals in the organization that are on part-time contracts right now that maybe we could move to a full-time contract, and part of their job responsibility is gonna be tracking down data?
True.
And working with Carlos to look for a data management system, and trying to find with ADE, because the Auditor General's report was ADE should help provide some clarity and direction on that. So I think there's a number of different pathways, but the end result is that we gotta do a better job, truthfully.
So if that's true, then the teachers won't be doing, if you could change the system, teachers aren't doing that, so it isn't extra work. So why would that be part of the 301 plan?
Because part of it is what we say is what we have them do is tracking the data down. There's a difference between tracking the data down versus a teacher that says, I'm gonna work with my cohort of 60 kids before they're done to see how many are gonna go to MCC, to how many are gonna go work at Great Clips, how many are gonna go on a mission, how many are gonna go, I'm an expert in my industry, I have these students in my class, I know the HVAC industry, are there job placements that I can get these kids? And so it's not the data collection that we're wanting to incentivize, it's the actual work done by the teachers to get them placed.
Okay, so what's their outcome?
That's their outcome, yes.
Any
Madam
other
Chair,
discussion?
I got another.
Yes, go
Just
ahead.
another point of clarification. So, I'm not gonna use the term first-year teacher, I'm gonna use a new teacher. I'm a new teacher. I come to EVIT, I'm a new teacher, and I get to teach a first-year class. And then my neighbor is a new teacher here that gets to teach a second-year class. My neighbor qualifies, but I don't.
Correct.
Okay, even though I've only
second
taught
year.
1 year, both of us have taught 1 year, right?
Correct.
Both of them don't get anything.
No, the first year, they don't get anything, but the second year when
There,
they're
there's a
both.
year difference, you're right.
Until the year after.
The second, yeah, because you don't get
Yeah.
anything till the second year, so
Right.
the first, so I don't get anything, my neighbor does,
Correct.
okay.
The second, there's a year differential. You're right about that. There's a year, not, for the first year teacher, it's 2. For the first year, first court level teacher, it's 2. Second, it's 1.
Correct. And that's where we're gonna run into.
So all those teachers that
Right
are
back
new,
here
which
where
we
we're
get
at.
plenty of them every year, are ineligible for 301, is that correct?
Unless they teach a second-year class.
No, 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 no.
No,
Everybody
just
for
that-
the first
Just
year,
that one piece,
Just this
just the
line alone.
placement.
just that one piece of placement, just a chunk of the money.
How much does that affect, I mean, can a teacher that's a first-year teacher get 301 money
Yeah.
without the placement?
Yes,
Eventually.
they're eligible for everything on this except this 40%. And
But
this-
not the first
we
year.
have another bucket, and I don't want to make sure it's getting confused, but the placement that all staff
Yes.
raise, they're
Yes.
eligible for that as well.
Let's throw out a
It's like
figure.
tw-
I mean,
it's
what is the
like
number?
$2,000. And that's why this is exactly what happened. You guys, I want you to remember when we were sitting here.
Okay,
We did
5%, I
this.
see that.
We already did this once, and we had to give everybody additional funds, and it didn't come out of 301 because it wasn't fair, it wasn't uniform, and now we're doing it again.
That was a slightly different issue. They were talking about student retention from year to year.
Right, but
And
this
since
is creating the same thing.
not precisely, because there was no data for that, and they fudged the data, and it gave them inflated scores that they were entitled to.
Okay.
So when we lowered the scores again, it was unfair because they had already been told they were getting more money. They're not being told right now they're getting more money than they're entitled to.
But we're really gonna punish someone who teaches in a first-year program over someone who teaches in a
It's 5%.
second-year program. They're gonna be 5% less just because of where we hired them at. I've spoke my piece. I know how I'm voting, so, I mean, I'm good.
What percentage do they have to get on this to get 301?
It's a point-driven system, so it depends on each line item on page 4 on the points.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, 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 so they're not gonna get 3 points?
They won't get a point for that 5%.
They won't get 3 points?
I don't know if Edith would have a
Says 3 up
approximate
there.
dollar amount.
So, Madam President, members of the governing board, I understand what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, my belief is that the 301 plan is a yearly plan, correct? So first-year teachers that we're hiring this year, whether it's a first-year first course or first-year second course, they're not getting compensated under this, either one. Where it becomes a problem is the second year, correct? So we won't have the issue this year that you're describing, as this plan creates, correct? So is there a possibility of having the plan?
I disagree. You will for the teacher that we hired first year, last year, in a first-year program. So I want you to think about,
Oh, yeah.
that person is not gonna be eligible for anything this year.
Oh, they'd be a second-year teacher this year.
No, they're a second-year teacher in a first-year program. Their kids are just finishing up their second year. They haven't graduated yet, and we're doing placement. They don't have the data. They won't be eligible.
Right, I understand what you're saying, and I think the goal of the 301 committee was wasn't really punishing them, it was rewarding the teachers that actually contributed to the placement.
But we're
So
telling them listen, if anyone can argue with me that if I teach in a first-year program versus a second-year program, and we got hired at the same time, why somebody, just because they're teaching the second year, gets money before I do, I'm in.
I understand what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing, if we want to go back to the teachers and tell them we're gonna do something different, I'm struggling with what the alternative is, where we're not unfairly rewarding teachers who not contribute to the outcome.
What if we had an accumulative account, if you will, so this amount, if they did achieve that level, would then be rewarded at least by the third year? So there's a little bit of incentive, if you will, to remain a teacher
Stay.
through at least the third year period. And then they catch up, if you will, at that third year mark.
Make everybody equal, whether you're
Well,
hired.
now they got, their first bonus, their first 301, second year 301, all on the third year. So they added, say it's $2,000 a year. So all of that money came to them on the third year.
I don't think you could do that.
I don't think you can carry it over from
Can't
one year to
carry
the
over.
other. That's the problem.
Also, if I'm a second year teacher, this is my brand new year, we're gonna be under a different 301 plan next year where we could modify and remove that, and then both that first year and second year teacher
But
are
the
brand new.
person
You're
this
punishing
year
this
gets
year's teacher.
punished. The person who was hired last year is a first-year teacher and is teaching in a first-year program is the person who gets punished. And I promise you they exist. And I'm gonna hear from them, and they're gonna want money.
I thought we wrote it so that are you saying this is my first year teaching at EVIT altogether?
No,
Or
this is
it's
my
just the sec-
second year
hey,
teaching at
those
EVIT.
teachers would still receive placement.
No, because they won't have placement numbers if they're teaching in a first-year program.
Correct, but the placement data is always lagged a year. You never get the placement money for the students you taught this year. It's always the data from
Correct.
last year. So it's
Correct.
always lagged.
Right, but they're teaching in a first-year program.
Correct.
So
And-
they've had their students haven't graduated yet.
Correct.
They
So-
have no
so they
placement
have not
data.
pla- So they haven't had any students placed.
Correct, so they can't get any money.
Correct. I think that was what they were, I think that's what the conclusion was. They shouldn't get money if they haven't placed any students yet. It's a placement reward. It's a reward,
But
it's a
you're-
bonus for placing
Okay,
students.
but Danny, you're understanding what I'm saying, right? Okay, so someone is unfairly. Thank you. Yes.
What-
So someone's unfair.
So if it lagged behind at the back end of their
You can't
career,
carry over.
they can't carry anything into
Can't carry
the.
over. No 301 money can be carried over.
Well, the way the incentives are, though.
And the teachers approved this.
Sorry.
96%?
Yes. And it's not the 96% that I worry about, it's those 3 or 4 teachers that this is gonna affect.
We'll hear from them.
Those are the ones we're gonna hear from.
Are the success markers on the right-hand side what you can get, which I added up to 33 points?
No, the success markers are what relate to the goals of that were approved by the governing board for Dr. Wilson and the division of the district.
If you got maximum on all those, you get 33 points.
Those aren't point values, those are references to the
Reference?
success markers.
Okay. So, I mean, if I'm a new teacher and I got 95% of this stuff because I have no job placement,
They're still doing.
should I still get the money or not? I don't have job placement.
They came last year asking.
I know. They came and cried at the end.
Okay, I think we're ready to vote because I think we've exhausted this.
I have one question.
Yeah.
So, there's 3 different buckets. If they do everything right in
least.
all other areas except for the placement, do they still get money?
Yes.
Absolutely.
How much money are we talking about that they might not get if they didn't get what they could have got if students were placed? What are we talking about?
I would have to defer to Ms. Perez for an answer for that.
It depends on how much they make.
Yes, the amount is calculated on an annual basis, and it's gonna really depend on the number of teachers that have that. So it's 5%, what is it, 10%? So we're talking about, I think for this year, about $64,000 that will be divided into however many teachers meet that criteria. So it may fluctuate between, like Ms. Doolin said, maybe 2,000, maybe less, depending on the number of students that they have that are placed.
Are placed. Total on placement.
Thank you.
So if we vote to not pass this tonight, the teachers have to meet again, and we
Correct.
have to vote again.
And we don't have time for that? Is that what I understand?
Well, you guys would have, I mean,
When does school out? When's the last?
Friday.
Friday.
They would make time because they want their 301 money. They
And
would.
Yeah, they would. Yes, they would. Again, it wasn't that they didn't have the opportunity to engage in this before tonight. So,
I'll tell you what, if I thought that those teachers who fell in the bucket that aren't going to get anything understood, I would feel better about this. I don't believe that everybody caught what we just caught, and that's my concern.
Madam President,
Yes,
I move that we accept the proposal as written.
we already have a motion on the board.
Okay,
I'm ready to call for the vote.
please.
Ms. Boggs, can you call for the vote?
Burnham,
Aye.
Watkins,
No.
Lane,
No.
Johnson,
Aye.
Doolin,
No.
I'm gonna say no also. Boggs is a no. Fleetum,
I abstain.
Covington,
I like that way.
I've been involved in this.
Covington?
I'm gonna say no. I'll let them
Struggling to.
come up with a new thing. What was I deciding vote?
No, it was already
It was already decided, and I abstained. No, I'm just kidding.
I clarify my vote.
Mr. Fleetum wants to clarify his vote.
My abstention is simply because I'm brand new, I don't understand, didn't know the process last year, and it's simply that I don't have enough information at hand to vote one way or the other.
No, that makes sense, actually.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Okay, so we have the vote.
What
Yeah,
was
that
the
did
final
not-
vote?
It didn't pass.
failed.
It failed.
So, Madam President, members of the governing board, we will pull the committee back together tomorrow. Hopefully have a vote. If we can arrange something by Thursday, I'd ask you to keep your calendars Friday at some point in time open, even if you have to do a Zoom call, so that we can, if we can get a plan adjusted and approved by the faculty, you can then be available to approve it so it can be submitted before we get through December.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to, I don't know what number, something E. The class sizes. I'd like to get a motion to approve targeted class sizes for school year 21-22.
So moved. Second.
Okay, I have a motion and I have a second by Mr. Watkins. And so I will go ahead and ask Danny Fisher to address, and then we will have discussion.
Madam President, esteemed board, and Dr. Wilson, I believe that you all should have a memo with your board packet titled 2021-22 School Year Proposed Class Sizes. As a jest, we wanted to come up with some planning figures that were in alignment with best practices for the number of student to teacher ratio, as well as take into consideration the different nuances some of our programs have. So what you'll find is a general description of what we did. I do want to make note that typing on my laptop, I mishit a key. It should be 32 or 33 is the maximum number, ranging from 23 to 33. This is on the fourth line down on the memo. So the idea is that we shoot for 28 students per class, and we require that they have at least 23 to run the program, but that we don't allow any more than 33 within that program, so that we can keep it into that variance of plus or minus 5 from 28. Sorry about this. The following pages on there are a list of our program areas, and then those class sizes, and any that don't fit within that same 28 class size have a note on the column on the far right that will give some information on why those classes are different sizes.
Okay, Mr. Lane, go ahead, Mr. Lane, discussion.
Just like aesthetics, barbering, cosmetology, there's state board requirement, they stipulate class size.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
I should turn on my microphone. Huh?
State board does have requirements.
For aesthetics, barbering, cosmetology, EMT, there says the state board requirement, so the state board stipulates what the class sizes are per instructor or per?
Correct. Yeah, for Cosmo, barbering, aesthetics, it's a 1-to-20 ratio, and then for EMT, it's 1-to-24.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Any other discussion?
Madam President, members of the governing board, one thing I compliment the committee for working towards is recognizing that if we're going to give our students the opportunities to learn that they deserve, we can't have class sizes in many of our programs that we currently have. When sometimes in the afternoon, we're running 45, 48 per class, and that's just too much. And so by capping this, I think it's going to give us a much better opportunity to deliver to our students what they deserve. Please understand, though, that it will increase our staffing. Because it means we're gonna have to have more classes, offer more sections. So I think it's a good thing, but it does carry with it a cost. It's a good cost, but still a cost.
So is there a possibility it could, say you run over by 5 kids, not enough to make another section? We may have to turn down some enrollment.
Our hope with it is that because we have the +3, -3, that it builds capacity within the staffing allocation itself, that you could actually collapse some of the students out of the existing sections, put them into that 5 that's in the waiting zone, and create then additional sections that are still within the range expected, right? We said a +5, -5.
Well,
So
you have 20 some odd, what was it, 23 to make?
yeah. Now, if it's a singleton, that's a problem. But if you have multiple classes that are all running, 5 over, and you have 5 sitting in the bin that we can't fit in, well, if we take 5 out of the multiple classes and take the 5 that can't get in, now you're gonna run a class size that's pretty close to what the targeted average is.
Yeah, so is the 23 to make a hard number?
They what?
Is that a hard number? So you had 22?
Yeah,
Are you gonna push it, or are you just gonna say, no, that's it, or?
No, life isn't black and white, it's gray. Though my point is that I wanna say to people, it's on both ends of the equation, right? If we're saying, oh, just add one more, because that we've gotta take that same position on the other side as well, right? Because sometimes we're running programs in which there isn't enough request for the program. So that may mean that maybe that's a better program, offered at the local high school versus centralized here.
Any other discussion?
No, I think it's a pretty good plan myself, so.
All right, Ms. Boggs, will you call for the vote?
Burnham?
Aye.
Watkins?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Doolin?
Aye.
Boggs is an aye. Fleedham? Aye. Covington?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, student school calendar. This is a motion to approve. I will go ahead and make the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Mr. Covington. Dr. Wilson, will you lead us on this item?
Madam President, members of the governing board, I'm actually have Mr. Carlos Sanchez lead a brief discussion. He's the one that did the legwork on it.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Wilson, thank you for the opportunity to present to you the proposed school calendar for the school year 2021-2022. I believe in your packet you have the proposed calendar and also documentation that shows the CTED or sending school districts calendar focus on the break periods. Obviously, we try to align the calendar with our sending school districts, but it's obviously also not possible to do that with all the school districts. Everyone's kind of like all over the board. But we did try to focus on the larger school districts. And if you see on that matrix, the school districts are lined up towards the top are our largest school districts. So we did try to do our best, but that is the proposed calendar. Additionally, a couple other important things to consider with the calendar is we're already enrolling for the next school year. We need to publish a calendar for our students and parents to become familiarized for next year, and also allow us to start scheduling our students in our system. Without the calendar, we can't build the next school year in our student information system.
Okay, any discussion or questions? Look how quiet we are. Hearing none, let's call for the vote. Ms. Boggs.
Burnham?
Aye.
Watkins?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Doolin?
Aye.
Boggs is an aye. Fleedem? Covington?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
Thanks, Carlos.
Okay, moving on. G, policy revision, new policy. This is just a read, correct?
It's the second reading.
Second read.
Your turn to vote on it now, approval or not approval.
I so move.
I second.
What are, yeah,
All of them.
All of them.
All of them. All of them, baby.
Do you need,
Do we need any questions? Anyone have any questions? Second reading, so. Hearing none, Ms. Boggs, call for the vote.
All right.
Way to go, Mr. Covington.
Thank you.
Burnham.
Aye.
Watkins.
Aye.
Lane.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Doolin.
Aye.
Boggs is an aye. Fleedem. And Covington.
Aye.
All right. That carries.
Okay, calling for executive session. I would like to make the motion that we go into executive session to discuss the superintendent's evaluation. Do I have a second?
I will second.
A second by Ms. Boggs. Ms. Boggs, will you call for the vote?
Burnham.
Aye.
Watkins.
Aye.
Lane.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Doolin.
Aye.
Boggs is an aye. Fleedem. Covington.
Aye.
Okay, we're moving to executive session.
And we'll just stay here.
Are we staying Okay, are we back on? Okay, welcome back to the meeting. We are going to go ahead and do action item number 12. And it's a motion, I'd like to go ahead and make the motion to approve the superintendent's evaluation as discussed in executive session. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Mr. Covington. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask Ms. Boggs to call for the vote.
Burnham?
Aye.
Watkins? Oh,
He's not here.
Sorry, I forgot. He's behind me, so I can't see. Lane?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Doolin?
Aye.
Boggs is an aye. Fleedham?
Aye.
Covington?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Sorry, I was coughing, getting ready to have a little fit there. Okay, closing items. Before we get to closing items, Mr. Burnham has requested to say a few words, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that over to Mr. Burnham.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to take a moment to thank you for the opportunity of serving with you. In my interactions, calls, questions, whatever I've had, you've answered and been very professional. I appreciate the board members. To be able to get along even though we don't always agree. When I was reading, or I told my wife I needed to read the board material and told her I had 249 pages to review and read, she said, "Do you think they all read?" And I said, "I don't know, but I believe they do." And the reason I say that is because as we have topics come up, you ask questions that I have, and which tells me you've read it and you know what's going on, and you'll often have insights and perspectives that help in the decision. So I just wanted to thank you for this past year and the opportunity to serve with you, and it's been a blessing to me to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burnham.
Okay, closing items. The next one on our thing is the calendar. I do want to say, everyone, we will be probably meeting on Friday. I'm going to say it's going to be a Zoom.
Correct.
Why I have the majority of you here, is there a time that works better than another on a Friday?
And potentially, we could do it Thursday. So
Thursday,
the
we'll shoot for
flexibility of-
Thursday or Friday.
How's it just a Zoom meeting gonna work with,
It's just the teachers that
public,
need to know.
notice?
Madam
What?
Madam President, members of the governing board, that was a
Public
really good point.
notice.
No, I mean, how would next Monday or Tuesday work?
That would even be better.
Yeah, because we just need the teachers to vote before Friday. We're here Monday and Tuesday of next
Oh,
week.
yes.
That's
Yeah.
probably
No, that's a
better.
good
That's
point.
better. That's way
So
better.
we'll target Monday or Tuesday sometime of next week.
You gonna have
That's
food?
way better.
Not on Zoom.
Delivered, please? You know, my front door will take it.
Okay, any other calendar items or anything anyone?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Since
Mr.
we are-
Covington has some calendar items.
Okay.
I'm not saying in January, but around March, I think we ought to have a meeting out at the new campus so we can also take a tour.
That's a great idea.
Oh, I love that idea.
Okay, to see what's going on. We can actually park our car in the new garage by then, I think. I don't know. And see the aviation building started, and the weather be a little bit nicer.
It's a good idea.
Great idea.
I was looking at the plans and going, I want to get out there, but since you like to meet out there.
Okay, hearing no other calendar items, I'm going to go ahead and say our next board meeting will be Monday or Tuesday, and then following after that, the next one will be January 11th. And then I'm going to go to B and adjourn this meeting. I would like to make the motion. Second?
Second.
Ooh, look at you, Mr. Burnham, a second. Harry Mitchell's not here, so Burnham's sliding in with that. We have the second. I'm going to say all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You can stay here with Dr. Wilson. Hearing none. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Nice seeing everybody.